Hey, so I'm going to make a tutorial on this series of images for the Los Angeles Maritime Museum. I'm not affiliated with them. I don't know anything about it. I'm just helping somebody out in a Facebook group. So we have this image, and this was submitted by Jay Roman. And, the question is, help making these images larger. So I looked at this image, and I just saw what I think is some AI problems with this right hand side, this right panel right here. And so I just went to we're just going to go to images.google.com, and I've downloaded the image. I actually downloaded it and then I cropped it, and I'm just going to see if I can find a better version or another version of the image. And I actually saw the closest the only match really is this one right here. And so we visit that page, and we can take a look at the version of the image there. And so I just saw this. I'm clicking on that. And if I open this image in a new tab, it's really small. But I can tell that it's not the same. The man in the picture is certainly not the same as the one in the example. So I'm just going to guess because I see this, what I'll call AI mess. I'm going to guess that this is more in line with the accurate original image. So let's get started, recreating this in crisp, clean art style and see what we can do. So our first task, we're going to save this image. And so I'm just saving that in my downloads folder. And then I'm going to open that in Photoshop. So we'll open that with Photoshop. And I'm just going to crop in on just this panel. I actually don't want, let's just increase our canvas size just a little bit. We're going to go, 50 pixels. I mean, this is a absolutely tiny image. It's as small as they get. It's not even 1 inch. I mean, it's. I'd call it a postage stamp, but it's actually probably smaller than a postage stamp. So, I'm just gonna select these corners and Control-Shift-New, paint whites. So let's switch to white. And so there's my image. And I'm just going to call it right panel. Okay, and then I'm going to back this up. And we're going to do the same thing with this left panel. This time I'm just going to try to select it real precisely. And it's so small. Select, modify, transform, selection. Yeah, transform selection. That we're literally, splitting pixels here, trying to grab this edge. Oh, select, modify, transform selection. Looks like what I did wrong there is I didn't hold shift, and it may have changed my size down here. So we'll just hold shift this time. Okay, and then I'm going to click my crop tool and just hit enter, and that should crop that perfectly. And then I'm going to do that same trick. We'll do image canvas size. We'll do 50. So yeah, 106 by 194. So it's really small. So I'm going to export this, and I'm going to call this left panel. Okay, and now let's get the center part. So the center part here. And in our customer's example, it didn't have the yellow gold around the outside. That's why I'm being careful not to do that part. So we're just going to come in here, grab that, crop, and then we're going to do File, Export, Quick Export as PNG, and I'm going to call this Center. So, fixing this is pretty much impossible to get it perfect, but we're going to try ChatGPT. That's going to be my starting point. And I think the only thing that I probably am going to do differently than anyone else is, or differently than some people, is I'm not going to try to have it work on the entire image at once. I'm going to have it just work on these individual pieces, so it should do a better job. So we're going to say recreate this image. It's very small. Please pick up on the fine details and redraw this image larger. This is a photograph. I'm going to call it a photograph of a stately man in a suit wearing a hat, standing at a ship's wheel with rigging behind. I'm going to say block and tackle. All right, ocean in the background. All right, I'm also just going to tell it to create image. So let's see how she does. Yeah, to say that I'm blown away by this result would be an understatement. I honestly cannot believe the level of detail that she went to. That's incredible. So now I want that blue effect, which I can definitely apply that in Photoshop, but I'm just going to see if we can cheat and let chat do that for us too. I need this blue filter effect applied to the black and white image. Let's just see if she can handle the blue filter for us. It's pretty great. We can probably do a little bit better job, get it back into the right color range, but this is what I'm going to run with for this design. Okay? And now we're just going to do the same thing. I'm going to actually go back to that first image recreation request, and we'll upload that left panel. And I'm going to tell it the same thing. It is a photograph of a sloop on the ocean. And I'll tell it to create image. Okay, got a great version of that. I'm going to go back to my blue filter effect, and I'm going to have it now apply the blue filter to this image. Okay, great. So let's go back to Photoshop. So let's just work in these two panels. I'm actually going to start with the original that was given to us by our Facebook group member. So I'm going to open it with Photoshop, and I'm just going to close others. Nope, don't want to save anything. We're good. I always keep things saved properly, you know. And so we're just going to start replacing these panels. So let's select with our magic wand. First, let's adjust our image size. Sorry. We're going to increase this image size just in case. Oh, it's actually nice and big. Nope, no, it's not. Sorry. It's if I look at this in pixels, well, it's only 1024 by 644. So Let's make this 300, and we'll make it 15 inches wide. That's the max that I usually go, 15 inches wide or 19 inches tall. And we'll just hit OK. And of course, that's just blown the image up. It's terrible quality now, because that's what happens when you do that. But I'm going to just define these panels. So let's just increase our canvas size a bit. We're going to go 500 in both directions. And I'm just going to start isolating these two panels. We can use these panels. So I'm going to hold Alt. Oops, got into it. I'm going to hold Alt and deselect this side. Wow, I'm going to make sure they're exactly the same. I just realized that I don't want to do that. Hold on. I was supposed to hold Shift and select this part. And I'm going to select all of this. And then I'm going to do Control Shift I. And I'm going to look at my corners and make sure they're sharp. They're not completely sharp. So I'm probably just going to start this over. Let's just do this. Let's grab a rectangle tool. And I'll grab a ruler and put it right on the top of that. And I'll grab a ruler and put it right on this side. And I'll grab another ruler and put it on this side. And I'll grab another ruler and put it on the bottom. Okay, now I'm going to hit Control D. And I'll just turn off this layer. Actually, let's just make that a layer from background. Okay. And I've just got my rulers. Probably hard to see for everybody. It's harder for me to see, so I'll just turn them back on. And I'm hoping that my ellipse is going to snap, or my rectangle is going to snap to those rulers. It looks like it is. Okay. And I've got a round edge, so I don't want that, so I'm just going to hit 0. Actually, that didn't change it. I need to come over here, since I've already drawn it, and hit 0 here. So now I've got a square, and we'll change the color of it to black so that we can really see what we've got. Okay. And now I'm going to duplicate that rectangle. And I'm going to slide it over. And I wish it would just lock in, but it's not. So I'm just going to place it. Let's lower the opacity. Yeah, it looks like it just needs to scooch. So I'm using my arrow keys. I'm going to click and just scooch. But now at least I know my two panels are exactly the same size. And that's going to be great. So I'm just going to call this right panel. And I'm going to call this left panel. And since I read left to right, I'm going to put the left above. Okay, so now let's grab our images. And I'm going to name them. So before I even bring them in, I need to upscale them. Let's delete these two versions. Just staying organized here. I'm going to call this right. Well, I'm going to call it, I'll rename with the same naming convention. I'm going to call this right. I'm going to put OG after it so it doesn't interfere with the other version that I've got, which I can probably start cleaning those up. I don't need to keep all these different iterations of things, but now let's upscale them. So we're going to, before we, right now if we look at that, it's 1024 by 1536. So it definitely needs to be larger. 1024 is only 3 inches tall, and I imagine this is going to get a lot bigger than that. So let's grab this. We don't need to be too much bigger. I mean, 3072, that's going to be 10 inches tall for that panel. And we just determined the whole image is probably going to be only 9 inches. So that's probably just right. That's about 9 inches tall. Let's go 4x, and we'll be safe. Okay, we've done that one. Let's do this one. And then we'll start dragging our panels in. So here's the first one that we've upscaled. So this is going to be my left panel. I clicked on the left panel so that I could pull this in and drop it right over. one thing I was pretty certain of is that ChatGPT probably didn't crop it or keep it the same aspect ratio as the original, which, we've got lots of things we can do to fix that. So I just drug it over. I'm being really precise here, being really careful. And I'm looking at my original here. So it's just the boat, the tip of the boat, and a little bit of the back of the boat. So I actually do need to, I need some more height. So it looks like the example image is taller. And so since I need more height, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, double click on this. I'm going to grab my crop tool. Now this is a new feature of Adobe. You'll probably know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to stretch this up and try to reframe this. And we're going to do generative expand. I don't want to describe anything. I just wanted to take from the original image and just give me some more height. All right. It's done a great job. We're going to save that. Oh, I need to flatten it. Save it. And then I should have more height on this side of that image once that's done saving. And I'll be honest, I didn't even notice if it worked or not. Yes, it did work. Okay, yeah. Control Z, Control Shift Z showed me that real quick. Okay, so great. So now I'm just going to keep framing this like the original. Hopefully I've got enough height now. I probably pushed it a little bit. It's at least close. So I'm holding Shift. No, I'm holding Alt. Shift would deform it. I'm holding Alt. Okay, and then I'm just going to switch to my Move tool and just kind of touch it a few times with my arrow keys and try to get that placement right. Okay. Now I'm going to make it full opacity, and then I'm going to clip it, create clipping mask. So now it's clipped into that panel. And then we'll try to adjust the color here in a second. Let's just leave things alone for now. Let's do our other image. I'm going to pull that in. And I'm guaranteed we're going to run into the same problem. Let's get it about the right size. Let's do that same opacity trick so we can see what we're getting. And then let's look back at our original and see our framing. So it really cuts off right here at his hand, and then there's just about that much distance behind the back and the top of the boom and his hat. So we're close. We do need some more height. And it's kind of odd because the boom, I'm just looking back here, to get this to look exactly the same, we've got too much of his feet. So maybe we're okay and we won't need more. Let's just take this. I'm going to hold Alt. We got his feet cut off now. I think we got a little too little of the boom at this point. So yeah, there's the bottom of the wheel. Yeah, actually, the bottom of the wheel is pretty much cut off. That's pretty good. I think that's they've shifted him a little bit, so I think I'm just going to leave it at that and call it a day. So let's do that. So we'll hit enter to confirm, and we will go back to full opacity, and we'll do the same thing. We'll pull this down over the right panel, and we'll create the clipping mask. So we've got the right side clipped. Okay, so it's time to group these. Let's group these, and let's call it left, right panels. And then we're going to work on our hue and saturation. So I'm going to do a duplicate layer of this one. Let's duplicate that layer. And let's just pull it up so that we can see the colors. You know, and I don't really trust that one so much because we know it got altered by AI. So I'm going to go back to this original that we found online and just drop it in, and we're just going to use it as color information. So let me see how to, let me play with this for a second so I don't waste y'all's time trying to figure out how to do this. Okay, so I've got hue, saturation, color and vibrance, and levels on. So I actually have turned them all off except this one, and I've clipped them to that group we made. And I'm just going to try, I mean, you know, this image, these images are darker. I'm just going to keep trying to find that hue, and also just, you know, looking at the colors here and see if I can find something that works for that. I mean, I'm not really succeeding as well as I'd like at this moment. That's why I actually popped it back on. I realized it was helpful maybe to see the struggle. So let's reset this. Let's reset this if that's possible. Yeah, we just drag this out. All right. So let's just do this color and vibrance. Let's see if we can get the tint more in the range. Yeah, that's closer. It's just, gosh, this other one's so dark. That's where I think we need to darken this up a bit. And maybe move the mid-ranges. Darken this overall. Let's see more of this image. Yeah, it's more washed out. You know, playing with color like this, I mean, you could play with it forever. I guess what we really ultimately need to do is make sure we've got something that's attractive. So I'm not a super fan of this, but this is what I'm going with. Okay, back to chat. I need this design recreated and enlarged. I'm doing the center panel. Stay true to the original colors. I'm going to tell it vector art style. Sometimes that gives you a crisper, cleaner line, easier to work with. So I'm going to hit create image and let her go. And I'm pretty happy with the results. I'm not happy with this panel. It's not really like the original. So I'm going to focus in on just that panel. Okay, I'm going to give chat the 3 versions of the panel. I mean, gosh, we can redraw this thing if we have to. So I'm just going to give her this version. We'll copy that. I need just this one panel recreated to be more accurate. So I'll give her that version. There's also the version of the other upscaled image. We'll open that with Photoshop. So this was the other upscaled version. Nope, I don't want to print screen. I want to select. Select. All right. And then I'm going to find that original. And I'm just going to zoom in on just that. Not print screen, Mike. Select. All right. The first 2 Focus on the tiny details and give us a true version of this one panel. All right, let's see what she can do with that. And in the meantime, let's upscale that image that she just rendered for us for our center panel. So we're going to go pretty big on this because we've got to remove a lot of text. I mean, we got to remove a lot of background here. And we'll just hit upscale. It's not perfect, but it's way better than I think anything we've seen so far. Gosh, it's just not perfect though. It's not even the right aspect ratio. So I've popped over to upscale and upscaled just that original that we found. And I'm going to open that with Adobe Photoshop. And yeah, I definitely need to save this one. I'm going to save this document before I get too crazy here. We're going to call this, well, let's call it with that same naming convention of what we've been using. So I'm going to grab one of my names here. And I'm going to name this. All right, so now I know that's mine. Okay, and now I have upscaled the, yeah, here's our upscaled version. So that's a better version of this design. I'm going to copy that. And I'm just going to go to ChatGPT and do a new chat because I think she's getting a little lost. And I'm going to give her the original so that she's not perverted by the upscale or anything. And say, and then we'll give her that copied version. So I need this one panel of this design isolated and recreated true to form. Vector art style. Yeah, I'm just going to say that much. That's enough. Hey, it's the best so far. We're going to go with it. I think the color's a little off, but I think that that's going to work out for us. So I'm going to drag in my upscaled version of the center panel. We'll position it. Oh, wrong one. Wrong one. This is what I'm running into here. Let's actually escape on that. And let's go back to our wide. This is the one we're working on. Okay. And I'm going to just close others. Let's just close others. And that's going to help us. And then we'll pull this in. And we'll position it approximately. So this is up. Yeah, it looks like the framing's changed a little bit. That's okay. All right. And then I'm going to go into this image. And I'm going to use my magic wand. I'm going to turn off contiguous and just select this text. And then I'm going to use my marquee tool and hold Alt and deselect all the parts that I don't want, which is all of it except for that top bit. I'm just going to Control C on that top bit. And I'm just going to do Control Shift V. And I'm going to call this Los Angeles. All right. I'm going to do the same thing again. We'll just select the color of that text. We'll deselect everything else. And we'll copy it. I'm going to do Control Shift V. I'm going to pull it down. I'm going to call this Maritime. Oh, I just renamed the wrong one. Maritime. All right. And then I'm going to do a color overlay. I'll group those and I'll call it text. Okay. And then we're going to do a color overlay on it. And we're just going to choose this color from, we're going to start making our colors consistent. I don't know the original colors. It's kind of so lost at this point. Let's do color overlay. And we'll just do that color. Okay, so now we know those two layers are perfect. And we'll go back to our original. Yeah, it looks like that text is darker in the original. Let's look at that. Let's pull this over. No, maybe that is the true color. Maybe this one's off. So I'm gonna keep with the color that I've got there. And I'm just gonna use this layer to line things up. So I'm gonna shrink this down till it's about the right size. Interesting. So that says Los Angeles twice. That feels like a waste. Looks like this is a better design. I think it's just a better overall style. So I'm just going to kind of go with that. I'm going to put this text right up here. I'm going to make this a little bit larger. Because it's certain that the text is important. And then I'm going to separate them and position them. So I'm going to take that Los Angeles and line it straight up with the top of our panels, and that Maritime and line it straight up with the bottom of our panels. And now those two are consistent. Okay. And then we'll turn this off. We'll turn this on. We'll go into it, and we'll literally just select, well, we'll just go ahead and perform surgery right here. So let's drag in our better version of this panel. Looks like we need to upscale it. We don't need that much. Let's just go that much. What I'm doing here is I'm just using smart objects and nesting them inside other smart objects. So if that's confusing, that's all that's happening here. And I'm just going to crop in on this one. Let's drag a ruler and set it where we want the crop. That's going to help me be more precise. And those should just kind of snap. Alright, and then I'm going to clear my guides because sometimes it's confusing. Okay, that looks good. Save it. We'll pop back over here. And we'll set this panel in place. And I can see that it's definitely not following this color scheme. Nor is it the right size and shape. I'm going to distort it, which I rarely do, but I'm just going to go ahead and distort it and set it over that one. Ooh, I need to be really particular about this. You know, my first instructor told me that we get in closer and we look at it tighter, and that's why we're the artists. So, always some good advice there. Okay, so that's my panel. Not super happy with the color. Let's duplicate this layer. We'll pull that up so we can see it, and we'll try that same color grading again. So this color grading is really easy because we just have a solid overlaid on a solid, so we can just kind of change the hue until it gets close. And then we can change the lightness. We're just trying to make it disappear into that other image. Yeah, like when that line goes away and we can barely see it, we know we're really good. Okay. So let's finish this up. We'll turn this layer off. We are going to make a layer from background here. We are going to merge visible and watch it and make sure that it's not, yeah, I didn't see anything jump. And then we're just going to select in a square. I'm seeing little tiny problems. Make sure that that line is good over here. Nope, it's a little off. You know what? We'll just paint yellow down the side of that because that's a little bit out of whack anyway. Looks like my Photoshop's not drawing the bottom here very well. Okay, I'm just inside the yellow all the way around. I'm just going to